Don't you think it's about time for a podcast that's more fulfilling? One that's about the vibrant exchange of ideas and perspectives that happens when we actually come together. We got you covered. Welcome to the Deep Blue Project, where the depths of conversation meet the waves of personal experience. This is a real, raw, and unscripted show about everything from leadership lessons to self-awareness, wellness, and the latest current events. We cover it all. We have a rotating cast of guests as we share our personal stories, insights, and opinions on the issues that matter most. Plus, we have a blast while doing it. The Deep Blue Project. It's not just a podcast, it's an experience. And now your host, Chris Workman.
All right, everybody. Woo! It's been a little bit of a while. We had all the holidays. We took a little bit of a break. Everybody was going to their conferences, but welcome back to the Deep Blue Project. I am so excited today. Police Lieutenant from the city of Paynesville, Mike Slocum, with me. And I'm talking to Mike because Mike's got some interesting things going on. He is actually the project manager for an adventure stress reliever, I'm going to call it, but I'm going to let you call it what you want, Mike, called Frontline Freedom. So, Mike, welcome. Welcome to Deep Blue Project, brother.
Chris, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to get the word out about what we're doing and how it's positively impacting the first responder community.
So, what we'd like to talk about here is we do a lot of things of trying to help our brothers and sisters in law enforcement. We go through so much in our lives and things that we deal with. So I'm going to let Mike kind of give you a little overview of himself and how he got into Frontline Freedom and what that's all about.
Chris, just for the overview, just to kind of qualify myself here, I just hit 23 years with the Paynesville, Ohio Police Department. Started November 11th, 2001 as a community service officer. So that was a great experience for me, a good starting foundation and platform to grow from. I got on the patrol in 2004, did a lot of the usual stuff that most of us do. I was a field training officer. I did the honor guard team, did a warrant entry team, those kind of assignments. Got in also to training and mostly defensive tactics, less than lethal type stuff. I got promoted to sergeant in 2012, lieutenant in 2014, and that's kind of where I'm at now. We're a small department, Chris. 40 full-time sworn. So yeah, just kind of the same kind of career path that everybody else has. Nothing special there. Did 14 years on the Lake County Regional SWAT team. Finished that experience as the LTL team leader. My current responsibilities, I oversee day shift patrol. So that's SROs, court security, city hall security, all those hats you got to wear at a small department. And I oversee our training, both our in-service and our school budget. So I'm pretty busy at work and pretty well familiar with being overtasked and understaffed. And that's my law enforcement background. My father is in law enforcement also, so I came from a law enforcement family. He retired from the road, like his generation, in 2011 as a sergeant and stayed on, and he's still going at it. He's a
Wow.
School resource officer. Yeah, he doesn't know when to quit. So he's 69 now, actually. So I think this is going to be his last year. Yeah, that generation's a rare breed for sure.
God bless them. Yeah, they're totally different. When he talked about career for them, I'm sure, like for us, I think we see that change. Career for them was, that's their lifestyle, man. That's what they did.
Yeah, it's crazy to fathom that, and I think we still have some of that mentality, maybe where you and I are at, but it's definitely far less than his generation.
Yeah, I think we find a lot of that as we move along. Unfortunately, that generation has changed. But I've had that conversation with a lot of people. Like they look at me and go, "Well, we're the ones that raised that generation, so we can't complain too much."
Fair enough, right?
But yeah, that is fabulous, and God bless him, man. God bless him for that, because that's just to have that to look back on. my family, like my dad was never, I mean, my dad was a welder, a ship welder and did that. My grandfather did the same thing. So I was the first one to ever get in law enforcement when I started. So I kind of didn't have anybody to look back on like that because nobody in my family did it. But it was something that I got into. I obviously made a career of it. Here I'm in probably just about as long as you have been. I'm a little bit over 23 years and moving along and just trying to make it better for everybody else, just like you're doing. And you sent me a video. So for everybody listening, Mike's into something that I have never heard of. I thought it was pretty cool. And it's called Frontline Freedom. And what it is pretty much is, they're outdoorsy people. Like they go and they do things outside. So I'm going to let him kind of explain what Frontline Freedom is and some of the things that they're doing and some of the places they've been. Because watching this video, man, it was beautiful. Some of that landscaping was awesome.
Yeah, Chris, Frontline Freedom's a little unorthodox. So it's a adventure therapy, or as our CEO Dave Brown says, it's probably more ecotherapy, even though we call it adventure therapy. And basically, what we do is we offer expense-free backpacking trips to first responders, typically 2 nights, 3 days. So what's that look like? We get together on Friday. We go to someplace cool. We provide you with a backpack, sleeping bag, all your essentials except for food and clothing. That's on you. We will help you what kind of food to pack or bring and, what kind of clothes. Stuff like that. And we'll help you with transportation. But the guides are 100% volunteer first responders. And so we'll have an itinerary. Usually the first day we try and take it somewhat easy. We'll we'll work you maybe 2 to 10 miles.
2 to 10.
Yeah, it depends on what trip you get. And Saturday, kind of the same thing, although we're probably going to put a few more miles on you, maybe somewhere between, 5 and 10 there. And then on the way out on Sunday, again, depending on where you're at, maybe a couple of miles we really try to keep that one down, maybe 7 at the most, I think we've done. But everything's cost free and our guides are you. We're uniquely positioned in that way as we're all first responders. So it's, if you sign up for an REI backpacking trip or National Outdoor Leadership trip or something like that, the guide that you got may not come from a first responder background. And our guides are all first responders. So yeah, it's a great program. People say, what happens out there? Do you guys, you start the campfire and you sit around and hold hands and talk about your traumas? And that's not what happens. I tell this like I see it. We get to the parking lot of the wherever it is that we're going to start hiking. And you can see a little bit of anxiety on people's faces. They're not sure what to expect, but they got 5,000 different things going on. And our job's to kind of shut down all those things that are going on in their mind. I liken it to an internet web browser and, one tab might be work, right? But there's a bunch of tabs open under that tab and one tab's home, your spouse, your kids, your animals, the neighbors, what stuff needs done around the house, the bills, all this stuff that's going on in our minds constantly. And so it's a real pleasure for me to watch this transformation, Chris. We start on the trail and, all these tabs start shutting down. And why do they start shutting down? Because you got to focus on your steps. It's where we're taking you. It's not a paved park road. You got roots and rocks and grade elevation changes. There's snakes out there. There's bears out there. There's things that are making noise that you're
Right.
like, what is that?
They're not used to that.
Yeah. So, you can see the transformation. So a couple of miles in, you look at these guys and gals and they're smiling and that all those tabs were just shut down. And in most cases, the cell phones don't work. And if they're out, they're taking pictures of the mountains and things like that. But there's something to be said about living in the moment. When you're out there feeling the breeze on your face, hearing, the wind blow, the leaves in the trees, stillness. Okay. I'll use that word, stillness. And often in our world, we don't find stillness. The radio is always going off. The phone's always going off, the TV's on, you name it. We don't know how to relax, to reset, to reflect, to respond better to what's going on in our lives. And so basically what we do is we offer you the opportunity to reflect and respond. And it works nearly every time, Chris. There's no, like I said, the only program is getting you out there. I always like to tell a story about my buddy Mike. He's been working with me. He's been at the department, I want to say 24 years. So he was there before I got there. And about 3 years ago, I took him out to Grayson Highlands State Park. And so it's just him and I. And yeah, there's a special bond when you've been on the kind of calls that we've been on and through the years and things like that. So, I think we go 3 or 4 miles in that night, and we're by the Thomas Knob shelter, right on the Appalachian Trail. And that's where we do a lot of our hiking. And, we get to camp, and it's his first time. So I set my bag down. I'm like, I'm going to set my tent up here. And he goes, all right, I'm going to set my tent up right here. And, it's right next to mine. And I'm thinking, well, it's his first time. He might be scared. So.
Right.
So I get my tent set up. I help him get his tent set up, and it's like 2 inches from mine, Chris. And so we get our campfire going, and we work through our meals, and nighttime comes, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this guy, and he's looking up at the sky, and we got a clear sky. There's no light pollution out there. And we have the Milky Way. And in Northeast Ohio, we just got too much light pollution to kind of pick up on that whole picture. So here we are in Virginia, and the smile on this guy's face, Chris, I'll never forget it. I always tell this story. He goes, man, I haven't seen the Milky Way in like forever. And this guy's married, and he's got 2 twin daughters, and he's probably stressed out. And
Right, a little bit.
yes. And he's looking up there and just smiling, and he hadn't seen it in years. And I provided him that opportunity just by getting him out on the trail there. And I felt so good about that. And I think that it's these small, special moments when we're out there that really help guys to kind of heal a little bit from whatever's going on, whatever's stressing them out. When you do shut down all those tabs in your mind, it gives you the opportunity to think about what's really important in life, what matters to you the most, and kind of how silly it is, all this stuff that we get worked up over, things that are oftentimes out of our control. So it helps you kind of recenter, and it's those small moments, I think, that really do help, Chris.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what we tried, a lot of things we talk about, and what we've been trying to do with a lot of us now, and the people that we've had on this podcast, and now yourself, is, I think, as the shame about it is we get older in this job. And I think one of my biggest things that I look back on now that I use this is kind of like my therapy point, my point where I can shut things off, and I just have conversations with people like yourself, Mike, and others. And we look at these things and go, wow, I wish someone would have kind of just pushed me in that direction 15 years ago. Like, how much different would everything have been if I had just found that way to find that peace, whether it's through the things you're doing, get myself all jumbled up here. um, but when people ask me certain things, I go, you have to find what works for you. Like, for some people, yoga works for them. For some people, this adventure therapy would work for them. For some people, having a psychologist works for them. For me, it's this podcast. This is what does it for me, and having myself to be able to open up and hear stories from yourself and other people. I'm like, wow, I should try that, because that might be interesting and that might help. And I look at these things and go, that's why you are doing what you're doing. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, we're hoping to reach these people before they get to the point where we did, before they're having all that stuff just mount up in their brain, and it's causing them problems in their personal life and their professional life. So I want to touch back on something. You had sent me a video, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to share kind of. I'd like you to talk more about that, because you said that, this was a part where you were out there, and it was like your kind of moment for you,
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
and you were dealing with some things, and like that was your a day where you kind of just, I want to say, kind of unlifted that burden a little bit, and I think that's important to show why you do what you do kind of works for you also.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the John Muir Trail is in the Sierra Nevada mountains out in California. It is probably one of the most beautiful areas of this country. It's an iconic trail out there. So yeah, I'll just kind of go into the story if you want.
Yeah, that's fine. You go right ahead.
I'm just going to kind of preface the story with this. I gave my life to the Painesville Police Department from the day I walked in the door. And I still do, but it hit me in 2019 that I was giving every aspect of my life to the department, all my energy and effort, and there was a lot of I would say neglect for Mike Slocum. And I don't think that hits us till later in our careers, where you're like, wait a minute, where'd all the years go? And Dr. Kevin Gilmartin's book talks about this emotional survival for law enforcement, the I used to syndrome, right? I used to do this, I used to do that. For me, that's, I used to go backpacking, I used to go hiking, I used to go fishing and bowling and, all this stuff. And I don't do it anymore. So I hit a series of personal and professional incidents, I guess, or obstacles, whatever you want to call them, and in a very short period of time. And it kind of overloaded my glass, and I didn't quite know how to handle it. And so I'll just kind of hit you real quick on this. On April 1st, 2019, my wife comes to me and says, "Hey, we're pregnant." We'd been married for 4 years at that time, no children. And so very excited about that. 3 days later, April 4th, I get a call at work that I need to come home and put the dog down because he had a major seizure, was still having it. We'd been having some medical problems with him for 6 months. So I go home and I do that. On April 26th, I come into work. I find out that 54-year-old John Tycote, one of our guys, had been taken to the hospital for an apparent heart attack. We find out pretty quickly, maybe 10 minutes or less, that he didn't make it. So we bury John. May 5th, this is all in the same time frame here. I get a call at 9:30 at night from one of the sergeants at the department that 38-year-old Lieutenant Mark Wagner had taken his life. And so again, we're a 40-man department. We're pretty small. So this hits us pretty hard departmentally. This is something we really hadn't dealt with, at least in my time there, anybody who had been there. So that was a lot to take in, but it wasn't over for me. On May 7th, 2 days later, my wife called me at work and said, "Hey, I need you to come home." And naturally, I asked why. And so she had her appointment for the pregnancy, and we found out that she had a miscarriage. So that was kind of the tipping point for me. And that didn't have anything to do with it. Everything that I'd seen and done at work and how that stress stacks up on you. This was just all like stuff out of left field, that has the ability to overflow that glass. And, there's no manual or script that I'm aware of in particular. How do you deal with these things on a personal level, on a professional level, as a leader, as a husband? So these are things that I needed to figure out. Kind of luckily for us, May 12th, we were going on an Alaskan cruise, and I'm in Skagway, Alaska, after we come into port there, and I'm on this train ride, and I'm trying to figure all this out, Chris. And it comes to me, I'm looking at this beautiful landscape outside the window that I just had this feeling of peace, serenity, stillness. And it was almost like God grabbed my hand and said, "You need to come back here. You need to go backpacking again. You need to knock this." I don't know if we can swear on here, but I'll say it.
No,
Shit
you
off.
can. Say what you like. You're awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
You need to start taking care of Mike Slocum so that you can be better for your family and as a leader and things like that. So it was that moment that I realized that this was going to be what I needed to do, and I started backpacking after that, and I found those moments of stillness and beauty in nature. I was able to shut down tabs. I was able to process how I was feeling about each loss that I had incurred, and how I was going to respond. I was able to make sense of it, so to speak, but that wasn't it for me, Chris. That wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
We had more coming. So that was my 2019 there. And 2020, December 7th, I think the president said that day, I'll live in infamy. That was Pearl Harbor, right?
Right.
Well, we lost 44-year-old Russ Tuttle that day. One of our sergeants, he had a pulmonary embolism. And so that one hurt a lot. He was
Young man.
He was a couple of years older than me, and he was just a solid dude. And that wouldn't really hurt us. So, I kept backpacking, and it kept helping. And the next year, in September of 21, we lost Lieutenant Jerry Lynch at 5th X. Of course, COVID was here.
Right.
So he went in for COVID, and they found some kind of in a scan, looked like he had pancreatic cancer, but they weren't able to go in, and he died. And so, oddly enough, December 7th of 2021, we lost 60-year-old Jay Sharp. He was a retired full-timer with us, but was a part-timer. And the guy was an athletic guy, always working out, in great shape. He had some kind of a stomach cancer or something. I don't know, but it took him out pretty quick. And so that was the same day Russie had died the year before.
Right.
So 2022's come rolling around. And so we're in January of 2022. And my 38-year-old cousin had taken his own life. So all this stuff's starting to pile up on me.
I bet.
Yeah, I know the answer for how I'm dealing with this, but man, the weight was heavy. It was really overbearing. And let these guys go. I was carrying them, every single one of them.
Yeah.
And so, I'm on this backpacking crusade, and so I booked this 16-night, 17-day, 144-mile hike.
Wow.
Chris, I'm not a small guy. I'm 260 pounds. And most of my work's done behind a desk these days. The backpacking thing is so cool on so many levels. You want to get out there, you want to get after it. I was an athlete in high school, football, track, always active. But again, I gave my life to the department, and you know how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through
I think
the year.
sometimes we always end up in that kind of spot because we all just were brought up that way. And a lot of things take a back seat, unfortunately. But I think that's kind of seems like what we're talking about. But I want you to get back into this because I'm sitting here riveted by this story, even though I watched some of what you had sent me. So I want you to continue for our audience because this is very powerful story, very powerful.
Yeah, so I booked this epic hike, and I know it's going to test me physically, it's going to test me mentally. I've never done anything like this before. And so I wanted to honor these guys and let them go. And I wasn't really 100% satisfied with what the department was doing I don't know, it's hard to put into words. I mean, they hit the check boxes, right? But, real true wellness. And so for me, I had a lot of missions on this one. And so I bought this headband. And for your listeners, it's kind of like a junk brand headband. It's black. It's got the thin blue line flag on the front. And so what I did was I took a silver Sharpie marker, and I put these guys' initials on the headband, one for John Tykody, one for Mark Wagner, one for Russ Tuttle, Jerry Lynch, Jerry Sharp, and my cousin Kevin Slocum. And so I was going to wear this headband throughout the course of the trip because I was carrying these guys with me. I was honoring these guys. So I did a YouTube video. If you guys are interested in it, you can find it on Foxtrot Adventures. That's my YouTube channel. and it's called Resilient, my journey on Mirror Trail. And so through episodes 1 and 3, we're doing some pretty cool hiking, beautiful views. And I can't remember what day it was that I let them go, but it was towards the end of the trip. And on the John Muir Trail, there's a lot of passes. And the most, I guess, iconic pass is Muir Pass because it's named after John Muir. And there's a really cool stone hut up there. And, I thought, what better place to let these guys go than up there on Muir Pass, and I'm going to leave them in that hut. So there's 9 of us together. We had hired Sierra Mountain Center to guide us. There was a male guide, Chris, and a female guide, Michelle. There of us guys, there was me and Travis. Travis, a fellow officer from a local PD, came out with me, and we met Ken out there from Colorado, and then we had the girls. So there was 4 of us guys and 5 girls. And these guys knew that I was honoring that we had lost some people, and I was honoring them, but didn't really get into any conversations about it too deep or anything. Same even with the guys, but kind of had worked it out that morning that before we went up to the Muir hut to the guys were going to leave camp an hour early. And I told Ken a little bit, and I told him this is Operation Mighty Wings. So Ken's, this guy's run, I don't know, 53, 54 marathons, 1 in each state plus. And Travis has run marathons, and Chris, our guide, he hiked the entire Appalachian Trail. So here I am, this 260 pound.
Try to keep up with him, right?
Mouth breather. So these guys knew I was doing something special that day, and so we break camp. We get our picture together and we break camp. And if you watch the video, you'll see the scenery's so beautiful. And these guys would not pass me. They would not pass me. And we had just gotten a food resupply the day before, so my pack was literally super heavy. But as I'm making my way up, Chris, the weight on my soul is really, really heavy, and the backpack's really heavy. And I'm doing my best to keep a strong pace. And I've told people this, and it sounds kind of weird, but as I'm processing this, because honestly, Chris, I'm really trying to say goodbye. And so I remember thinking to myself as I'm going up when it started getting really hard, that these guys were sitting in the hut and they were waiting for me. And I remember them kind of cheering me on. And Rusty in particular is like, good job, Mikey. Keep going, because he always called me Mikey. Good job. We'll see you up here when you get up here. And so finally this thing appears. And it is one of the most beautiful things I've seen structure wise. They did a really nice job on this thing. And so I get in there, and the guys come in with me, and we get a group picture of the guys before the gals get up there. And they leave me alone in there. I let them go. I told them goodbye.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, it still gets me to this day.
I can tell for those guys who can't see it, like this is the kind of thing, like I can just see it on your face, and I'm sure everybody listening can feel it, because it's just coming out so authentic from you, and the way it's just like you're doing it all over again. Just kind of you're feeling that weight lift. You didn't forget them. You still have them with you. But that pain and that constant thought of having that behind you and finding that way to let it go, you'll always have that. That'll never go anywhere. That is so amazing.
Yeah, so I took the headband off, and they had like this rack there, and so I took the headband and I put it on the rack or at the fireplace altar there, just to a really cool spot, right? And
that's
so
cool.
I took some pictures for the video. To show that I left it there. And
so cool.
Yeah. No, I will tell you this. Immediately, as we began to descend, that weight was lifted. It really was gone. I felt so much lighter. The pack was no, but I felt it was lighter. The burden on my soul was lighter. And I got to be honest with you, Chris, to this day, I just relived it again, but to this day, I really don't look back, and I let it go. I really did. I think there's a shaman thing out there, some kind of a ritual. You might be familiar with it, kind of where you grab a piece of firewood and you say,
Right.
hey, this symbolizes what's weighing on my mind, and I'm going to put it in the fire, and speak it, and then it burns up and it's supposed to go away. I can see some value in that. This is the same kind of thing, only, it's like Lord of the Rings. I had to climb up to the top of Mordor I physically had to carry these guys with me the entire trip and bring them to that point. And, for me, it was more than just putting a stick on a fire. That physical exertion. And that's the great thing about backpacking. When you get back to the parking lot, the feeling that you have, Chris, they're probably like a marathoner or something that finishes. Yeah, they're exhausted, but man, the sense of pride, accomplishment, you really feel good about it. And I really feel like I earned the right to say goodbye to these guys. And I feel like I left them in a really cool spot. But like you said, that doesn't mean that they're always remembered. And part of the reason that I tell this story, that I did the video, was because they're not forgotten. And I tell it because I think, like you said, we have people come in and nobody tells them this on day one, like that, like, how do you survive? These things are going to happen in your career and in your life. How do you survive them? So, this helped me to survive it. Nobody comes up and tells you, what you need to do. You just kind of got to figure it out. And, I appreciate you offering this platform for all of us. You're doing your part to put that manual or script out there. And like you said, this might not work for everybody. It might be the yoga, it might be something different, but find your stillness, whatever brings you stillness or peace, whatever helps you process things. But that's kind of the story about how I let those guys go and how it helped me, and why I do Frontline Freedom, why I take first responders backpacking. And just going back to my buddy Mike, who saw the Milky Way. That guy, love him to death, man. I can't get rid of him. Hey, when's the next trip, man? When's the next trip? And actually, this year we did the 100-mile wilderness together, which is the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail in Maine. It's literally the most remote section of the Appalachian Trail, and we summited Mount Katahdin at the end of that. And to experience that with him and to see how far he's come since that first backpack.
It's the Milky Way day.
Yeah. By the way, he doesn't set his tent up 2 inches from mine anymore.
You got to kind of separate a little bit.
Chris, the day of our first resupply on the trail there, we get into camp early that day. This was on 100-mile wilderness, and I'm just bushwhacked. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to go lay in the tent give me a half hour or something. He's like, yeah, I'm going to lay down too. Next thing I know, this guy's up 10 minutes later, Chris, and he's in the river. And he's splashing around in there, and he's like, hey, get out of there, get some video of this. You need some content. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
This is how happy this guy is.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But he's not the only one, so
right.
It works.
I'll tell you what, that's a fantastic story and a fantastic segue into what you do, my friend. I mean, to not only to take what you felt and what worked for you and to just move it into making it something that you can bring people out there and give the story of your friend Mike, who's just like, now look where he is after the first day. I mean, now he loves going, and he found something for him. And I think that's all we're just trying to do, is try to help each other find what works for them.
Yeah, so I went to the FBI National Academy in January. And so one of the things I wanted to do there was I wanted to bring something of value to the class. And I had hiked the Virginia Triple Crown previously before my session. And the Virginia Triple Crown is on the Appalachian Trail, and it's 3 iconic landmarks. It's Dragon's Tooth, McAfee Knob, and Tinker Clef. And so I offered to take the class hiking one weekend. And we had 41 of us from 289.
Wow.
And then our wave from Frontline Freedom, I think there was 42 of us. And that was so well received that word got back to the unit chief at the NA about that. And a part of their program there is huge, is wellness. I mean, they're focused on your physical and mental wellness, of course, the academics, and then the social networking part. That's kind of their thing. But this fits in so well with that. And so I bring this up because we just finished, not this weekend, but the weekend before, we had 80 hikers from session 292 come out with us. And it's grown from, just our 41 from my class. We're up to 80 hikers. So our staffing has grown too, but this is a new tradition at the FBI National Academy. And it makes me feel real good, Chris, when we get feedback that it is one of the most impactful experiences that these folks have had at the FBI National Academy. And we see it, when they get back to their phones, guess what their Instagram is, or their Facebook profile pics, right? It's them standing on top of McAfee Knob.
Wow.
And we know we're making a difference, not only just from the feedback, but the smiles and people asking us to come to their area and facilitate, some kind of a hike or an experience for their people, wherever they may be from, which is all over the U.S. Right now, we're not in a position to meet every need, but that's why I'm here today, Chris, and I'll continue to kind of beat that drum. And we got to get that fundraising rolling and things like that, so that we can provide these experiences and opportunities for first responders across the entire U.S. to have this opportunity to find stillness and reflection.
I did see that on your site, and saw the way that the classes have been going there. That is so cool, and it's nice to see how people kind of build that up. We never know what we're missing until we do it, right? I mean, like, we look at things and go, "Yeah, I don't think I like," and then you go do it, and you're like, "Wow, I can't wait to do that again." And it's fantastic, because I think that you hit the nail on the head. I mean, right now we're just such in a lucky spot, and I call it, I guess, a lucky spot, because people are now finally, and we're all benefits of that, starting to focus on. We're focusing on Mike. I never focused on Chris. It was about, when the phone rang, I was going where I needed to go. It didn't matter what else was going on. I'd drop everything and go for the job. And your health deteriorates, your other things deteriorate, until your body just tells you got to stop. So I think giving us all these options now, and having people like yourself who are coming up with these new ways and making them available is just awesome for everybody, because I don't think we ever really know where we're going to go with what we do. I didn't expect to do what I'm doing right. I just kind of led that way. I didn't expect to write a book. I didn't expect to even start going and having the option to speak with people. Like, I never planned that. It just kind of has gone that way. Like, I'm sure for you, when it began, it's like you just wanted to get back to being Mike and going backpacking. But look where it's gone. Look what you've matriculated into. You're helping so many people.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, Chris, because I've had those thoughts, and when I said God grabbed my wrist and pulled me, I truly mean that. Yeah, I always wanted to be like the sheriff or the police chief, and I find more value in doing what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I could be the chief of a 40-man department and touch 40 lives, or I can do what I'm doing now and be a multiplier and, hit the chord with the right people who make a difference. And I want that ripple effect. But
What
I
you're
never.
doing is fantastic, my friend. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. So why don't you tell everybody, okay, how they get involved with Frontline Freedom? How do they kind of, if they want to get into this and they want to try this, how do they do it?
So if you go to our webpage, frontlinefreedom.org, you'll see what trips that we have available. If one interests you on a date and a location, just go ahead and click the register button. It's pretty easy to fill out. Send it in. We'll get you approved, and whoever the guide is for that trip will reach out to you. Right now, we are done with trips for this year. We don't have any 2025 trips posted yet. We're doing our scheduling right now. I anticipate that here in the next 4 to 8 weeks, most of our schedule will be out. Again, we run on volunteers guides. So most of our trips are based right now in the Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania, along the Appalachian Trail from Maryland down to almost the Smokies, and also some areas here in the state of Ohio. But like I said, Chris, if guys want to help out, you want your FOP or your firefighter or nurses or whatever. If you have an interest and being a guide, please reach out to us through our website. If you guys want to make a donation to help out, we'd really like to take this, Chris, as far as we can. I mean, it'd be nice if we could offer services in every state, and we do have some folks through the FBI National Academy that have expressed interest in bringing this back to like Missouri and California and things like that. So right now, moving forward, our focus is really going to be on fundraising. And I'm aware that there's some grants out there, and we're looking into those right now. But again, we work full time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, please reach out to us if you're interested in a trip through our website. You guys can find us on Facebook and Instagram as well if you want to follow and support us. That way, we'd appreciate it. Spread the word. But yeah, we'll be getting those trips up pretty soon for 2025.
Awesome. Yeah. So please check out frontlinefreedom.org. If you go all the way down on the first page, make a donation, help these guys out. I mean, we as police officers, law enforcement, as first responders, we donate to a lot of stuff. Donate to this cause, man, because if it's really helping people, and you just heard the stories today. I mean, not only Mike himself, but the people that he's brought out there and what it does for them. Mike, I thank you much for what you're doing, man. I'm so glad that we got able to link up, and I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to find one. Even if it's only a 3-day thing, I'm going to find one, and I'm going to do it because you just made it sound awesome. And I think I would enjoy that greatly. So I will definitely keep an eye out for it. And I thank you, my brother, for coming on. I really do. I thank you for telling your story. I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chris. I'm going to add one thing there because if backpacking or slack packing is not your thing, one of the things that hopefully we can do is maybe some whitewater rafting, maybe some rock climbing, kayak, and all outdoor adventure therapy type things. And some static. We do some static camping. So if you got like a knee injury or something, but you just want to get out there and sit along the river and do some fishing or something or some light walks. We do offer those trips as well. So there's a whole gamut of stuff that we can get to as far as adventure therapy goes. And I really appreciate what it is that you do and having folks like myself on here. I think it's extremely important that we get the word out to our people. I'm thankful for these podcasts, and this generation loves podcasts. So.
Yeah, hey, at least they're listening, and we're like I said, I say this at the end of every one. I know you guys might get sick of it, but I'm going to continue to say it. If it helps one person, if it changes one life, then you know what? We did our job. If it makes somebody listen and they can hear it young enough in their career to know, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and everything else will work itself out. You can enjoy the job, and you can be part of your career and grow. But you do it better if you take care of yourself. Also, I just want to say I'm going to put it out there. That Frontline Freedom also has a podcast. I think right now they have like 37 episodes. I've listened to a couple. They're awesome. Go back on there, find them, listen to the podcast. They have some great content also. If you find something that helps you, if it's this, great. If it's Frontline Freedom's podcast, great. Whatever it is, find something that works for you and take care of yourself. Mike, thanks again, my friend. I appreciate you being on, and you stay safe, and we're going to talk again soon, definitely.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
You've been listening to the Deep Blue Project. As a father, husband, friend, and someone who loves to chat about anything and everything, Chris brings over 3 decades of public service experience to the table. With a background in firefighting and law enforcement, along with degrees in criminal justice and behavioral science, he's seen it all, and he's learned a thing or two along the way. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on LinkedIn and X at Deep Blue Project. Find our website at deepblueproject.com. And to reach out, send an email to deepblueproject@outlook.com. Keep keeping it real, and we'll